Hey math fans, welcome back to Chapter 10, Section 8, Equations of Circles. So at the very top of the notes I have this statement. It says you can write the equation of a circle if you have the coordinates of the center of the circle and the radius of the circle. So if you were to look at this image right here, you'll see that it says the standard form of the equation of a circle with a center at hk, h comma k, and a radius r is that x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So you may have seen this if you've taken Algebra 2. You see a lot of formulas with h and k. Now, if you've not taken Algebra 2, then you probably haven't seen any formulas with h and k. But basically, just take the coordinates of h and k, and since the formulas are minus, I usually just tell the kids, just flip the sign. So, if this were at like 2 comma 3, I'd write x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared. And if this were at like negative 2 and negative 3, I'd say write x plus 2 and then write a y plus 3, okay? So that's the basic concept with it. And then you can just, a lot of times the radius is given to you, otherwise you'll have to measure the distance between your center point and your radius, and then you'll have to square it for what your equation should equal, okay? So in this first example, I have a center at 1 comma negative 8 and a radius at 7. So your equation is very simple. You're going to go x, and then it says minus h, so you're going to say minus 1. Like I said, you can just think of it as flipping the sign. You got to square it, plus, and then y, if I were to flip the sign, I would say plus 8 squared equals, and then what's 7 squared? 7 squared is 49. So I'm going to say equals 49. And that's it. So the cool part about this is if you were to type it into a graphing calculator, it would draw you a circle. So what I did here was I opened up my Desmos graphing calculator app, and like I said, I typed this in, I typed in my exact answer, and it drew me a circle, and then I just manually plotted my center point. And so if you ever want to use this to check your work, your center point should be 7 units away from the edge of your circle, so you can count up, down, left, or right. So I'll just count to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, if it looks like the circle's passing through the edge after 7 points up, down, left, or right, then you probably did it right. So in this next example, I have a picture of a circle graphed, and so you need to count your distance for your radius, 1, 2, 3 units, all right, and then you need to plug in your h and k from your center point, and so I'm going to say x plus 0 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9. And then this x plus 0 squared stuff, if one of your values is 0, you don't have to write x plus 0 or x minus 0. Just say x squared or y squared, whatever letter it is with. And so I'm going to say x squared plus y minus 4 squared equals, and 3 squared is 9. So that's how I'm going to get my final answer for this circle right here. Okay, I got a couple more examples very similar to the first two I did. So this center's at 3, negative 3, so I'm going to say x minus 3 squared, that's the h, plus, and here comes the k, I'll say y plus 3 squared equals, and so what's 6 squared? 6 squared is 36. So it's going to equal 36. And that's really all there is to it. On part D here, I have a radius equal to 2 units. And I have a center point that's not specifically labeled. This is at 3, 3 right here. So the center point's at 1 across, 1, 2, 3 up, right? So the center point's at 1, 3. So that means my h is 1 and my k is 3. So I'm going to say x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 2 squared. And so 2 squared is 4, right? So this all stays the same. So my final answer is x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4. So my next two examples are going to be a little bit different. I'm going to give you the center point, and then I'm going to tell you a point that the circle passes through. And so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to calculate our distance between this point and our center point to find our radius, okay? And so we'll use our distance formula. So if you don't remember your distance formula, I took the liberty of writing it here. You'll subtract your x's, then square it, and you'll subtract your y's, and then square it. Add those two together and square root it all. So I'm going to use, I'll just use the center point. It really doesn't matter which one's x1 or x2, but I'll use the center point as x1, y1, and the point that it passes through as x2, y2. So I'll plug those numbers into my distance formula. Alright, so plugging in my x1, x2 values, y1, y2 values, I get all of this, negative 6 minus negative 2 squared plus 7 minus 4 squared. Negative 6 minus negative 2 turns into negative 4. Square that, you get positive 16. 7 minus 4 is 3. Square that, you get 9. 16 plus 9 is 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. So that tells me my radius is 5. So when you write your equation, remember you got to square 5. So it's almost like you just got to look backwards a step. And it's going to equal 25. Don't write equals 5, because the examples that I just did previously, we did equals r squared. So I hope I'm not rambling too much, but I'm going to use my center point as h comma k, and then I'll use 5 as my radius. So my equation will be x minus negative 2, or just like I said, flip the sign, x plus 2 squared, plus, and then flip the sign, y minus 4 squared, and then that's going to equal 5 squared, and 5 squared is, of course, 25. So, there you go. I'll do one more example just like that. Okay, so I have a center point at negative 3, negative 2, and it's passing through 1, comma, negative 2. So I went ahead and I labeled them x1, y1, and x2, y2, and I'll now plug this into my distance formula. Alright, so plugging into the distance formula got me 1 minus negative 3. That's going to turn into 4. 4 squared turns into 16. Negative 2 minus negative 2 is 0, so 0 squared is 0. And so the square root of 16 plus 0 is just the same thing as the square root of 16, which is 4. So 4 is my radius, and like I said, since the equation equals radius squared, you just look at the previous step, 16, right? The equation is going to equal 16. And then take that center point, label it as your h and k. And so the equation will be x, flip the sign, plus 3 squared, plus y, flip the sign, plus 2 squared, and then that'll equal r squared, 4 squared, or 16. So on example 4a, it says graph the circle with the equation x minus 4 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 9. So what this tells me is that I'm going to have my center point is going to be, or my h comma k is going to be at positive 4 comma negative 1, right? Remember, you can just flip those signs. And then my radius is just going to equal the square root of 9. So I'll say radius equals square root of 9, which is, of course, 3. So what that helps me with is all I need to do is I need to plug in this point here, and then what you should do is plot like 4 reference points, 3 spots up, left, right, down of this point, and then just draw a circle around it, and that would be good enough for me. And so here I have my center point plotted, and then what I did was, like I said, I plotted a point 3 spots above, below, left, and right, and then now I'll just poorly trace a circle through it, and that's pretty much good enough for me. So one more example just like that. It says graph the circle with the equation x squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. So your h and k, x squared was nowhere, so your h is at 0. And then my k is, just flip the sign, -3, so I'm going to say +3 for my k. And then my radius is the square root of 25, which of course is 5. So I'm going to go to 0, 3, and then I'm going to plot that point, and then I'll plot 4 points going 5 up, down, left, and right. Okay, I got my 4 points drawn, and then now I'll just, like I said, I'll just attempt to draw a circle through it. Not that good, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's going to wrap it up for the notes. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and goodbye.